Hi, it's Kevin Long with the New Warehouse Podcast here at MODEX 2020, and we are at the New Warehouse booth here, and we are joined by Peter Zalinski. He is the supply chain architect at Barcoding, Inc. Peter is going to join us. He's going to talk to us a little bit about Barcoding, Inc., what they're exhibiting here, and also about what they do in general, and I'm sure talk to us about barcodes, too. So, Peter, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good, and I have to say that Peter has these amazing glasses that match his lanyard. He tells me the glasses came before the lanyard. I believe him. I think he influenced the coloring of the lanyard, but it's a perfect match. So, very stylish. All right, so how are you doing? How's the show going for you guys?
Actually, the show's going pretty good. We've got a nice location, and we're actually drawing a good number of people into the booth. I look at it this way: we're not having as many trick-or-treaters this year.
Okay, all right, that's good.
We're still getting a lot of viable contacts.
That's good. Yeah, because I know obviously there's some concerns around the whole virus and everything with attendance. So it's good to see that people are still coming out and you're still getting good numbers.
Yeah, it's been
definitely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Barcoding, Inc. and what it is you guys do? I'm sure it has to do with barcodes, right?
Well, yeah. Kind of start off. Founder of the company got a hold of the barcoding.com web URL right off the bat, and started his business wrapped around
Very lucky.
That. Yeah, the automatic identification and data capture business. But Barcoding itself is a supply chain automation and innovation company.
Okay.
Everything from barcode scanning and mobile devices to RFID systems, and through partnerships and software that we own and develop as well, warehouse management, warehouse execution, work in process, transportation management systems, things like that. It's really an end-to-end solutions company. Our whole goal is to really find out what that customer's experience is, as far as people, process, and technology, and then help them improve that. Whether it's going to be through a stepwise change, a continuous improvement process, or something a bit more transformative.
Right.
It's helping them achieve their goals.
Definitely, and I think that's really good, going by your name, because barcodes are kind of one of the biggest continuous improvements maybe of all time.
Oh yeah,
I would say
the fundamental stepping stone now for data.
Yeah, so taking that, I guess, initial idea of creating barcodes and implementing them, and now continuing on to continuous improvement.
Right.
That's pretty good. That really helps, I think, and the fact that you guys are doing end-to-end solutions now, that's really good as well. So talk to us a little bit, I guess, about some of those solutions that you guys are implementing, and a little bit about, I guess, what you're exhibiting here at MODEX.
Okay. Well, what I find still interesting is, the UPC code was invented back in 1973. I mean, the very first barcode was scanned back then. And yet still 1/3 of all warehouses that have inventory in them aren't being tracked using a warehouse management system, so they're not scanning any barcodes. And I'm still marveling at that. But what we're exhibiting this week is Zebra Technology Solutions, so printers, scanners, and kind of their high-end stuff as well. We've got at the other end of the spectrum DoForms, which is a basic data capture solution for small projects.
Okay.
Really scalable software as a service scenario. It's great stuff. And then we've also got Definitive Technology in our booth, which is powered carts to add that mobility to your warehouse, to give you a little bit more flexibility on where work happens.
Right.
So it's kind of across the board. I mean, our customer mix is everything from Fortune 100 and Fortune 10 all the way down to the long tail. People looking for small solutions because they've got 5 guys who have to get their jobs done.
Yeah.
So it's really fairly broad. So I get to have a lot of fun.
Okay, and so you talked about 1/3 of warehouses are not using barcodes, right?
Yeah.
So now, how do you, when you guys, I guess, are approached by a customer or approach a customer, potential customer, that is that person, right? How do you even start there, right?
Well, we ask them 2 questions. One is, who are your customers?
Okay.
The other is, who are your suppliers? And based on that, what do you do? How are you trying to bridge that gap? What value are you adding to product in that supply chain?
Right.
And how can we make that more efficient, more accurate, and get you more connected with both ends of that spectrum?
Okay.
In some cases, it's literally, we got stuff that's coming in with barcodes that we're not using. Okay, how can we help you enable your warehouse to receive product in more efficiently, more accurately, so that you can carry on with production, right? In other cases, it's they're receiving product in, but it doesn't come in with a label. How do we get a label on there so that they can consume it? Okay. And those are kind of the basic stepping stones. But I try to look a little bit deeper than that, and I go, well, what information do you need presented on those labels, and what do you need for track and trace? What is the end-to-end requirement for knowing where things are, what they are, and who's played with them, who's working with them.
Okay.
I mean, if you're in the pharmaceutical industry, right now it's end-to-end traceability down to the dosage level.
Oh, yeah,
right?
big time.
But if you're in the B2B and you're talking about, I just sell products to these one or two other customers,
Yeah.
the requirements are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And you try to get your customer to kind of extend out and say, well, if you did things in a more standardized way, you might be able to get more customers because they could make better use of your product. I'm all about the GS1 standards right now because that's really what we need for total end-to-end solution within the supply chain.
Yeah, so the communication kind of just flows all the way through from supplier to customer, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. So now, for someone, I'm kind of interested in this, I guess, this 1/3 of people that don't use barcodes because it's kind of like, I work in distribution as well, so, very familiar with barcodes, inventory control background, so barcodes I love.
Yeah.
Right. So, I guess thinking about it and kind of grasping my mind around it, so when you start to try and implement that and tackle that, I mean, how long does it really take for implementation just to get them to start to use barcodes?
Usually it's pushed on them by somebody else.
Right.
Because they've got to get compliance labeling done.
Got it.
Along
Okay.
those ways. The other thing happens is they actually have an initiative to start scanning barcodes within their own system because they want inventory control. So the first thing you have to do is identify everything they're going to control.
Right.
And they want to get beyond what I call the technological hump of everybody knows where it is, so we don't need to identify it.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, well, then what's
tribal knowledge? So to
tribal
speak.
knowledge, right? What's your trading cycle like when you get a new employee? And they're like, oh, somewhere between 3 months and 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wouldn't you like to have that between 3 and 6 hours?
Yeah. Yeah. 3 to 6 months is a long time.
Yeah. If you could put up some location tags and identify places within your warehouse,
Yeah.
just to get them started so they could navigate, and then think about putting identifiers on those locations on the shelf,
Right.
where they could actually find things, and then directing them to the place where that stuff is stored, rather than saying, go find a widget.
Right.
In some cases, it literally transforms their idea of what they're doing.
Right.
They don't, I mean, they're, 5-man shop, we've been this way for so many years,
Oh, yeah.
Joe just retired, we don't know where that part's kept anymore. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like we've done it for so many years this way is like the enemy of continuous improvement, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I remember, a couple operations that I've been in, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, so-and-so knows how to do it.
Yeah.
So what if they're on vacation? Or, what if they, God forbid, get hit by a bus tomorrow? Like, what happens then? What are you going to do? And,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and that continuity of solution is the other thing that we deal with. Because, it wasn't that long ago, I wandered into a manufacturer and I said, so how do you guys generate labels? Oh, we got a printer over there in the corner. We pre-print all our labels. I'm like, okay, let's take a look at this. And I'm looking at the setup and I'm like, okay, now who runs this printer? Oh, yeah, we got it running off of this PC in the corner. And I'm going, okay, that's running Windows 3.1. When did you guys last update that machine? And has that fan been cleaned lately? Because if that machine goes down, your production ceases. And they're like, oh, no, we can keep making product. I'm like, no, you can't sell or ship any product without a label on it, right?
Right, yeah.
So if this one nail disappears,
Right.
the whole shoe falls off your horse.
Right.
It doesn't matter where else you're going to go.
Yeah.
Nothing happens until that system gets replaced. So you might want to think about creating a backup for that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So now, I guess let's take it to the opposite spectrum now, right? So we talked about the person that has no barcodes, right? They're stuck in the olden
Greenfield
days,
scenario.
right?
Yeah.
And so now, what about somebody that's kind of optimized and kind of continuously improved? They have barcoding, maybe they have some RFID stuff going on. What kind of solutions are you offering to them or suggesting for them?
It can run the gamut from looking at choke points within their process, trying to find out where those bottlenecks are and go, okay, how can we help you alleviate those bottlenecks with better information flow?
Yeah.
In other cases, it can be, okay, you've pushed your data collection to the limit. You now have to recognize that it's the data system behind it that's holding you up.
Right.
You don't have good data. Or your system doesn't go granular enough for what your technology can handle. The biggest problem we're seeing right now within the industry is ERP systems are designed to track items,
Right.
SKUs at the each level. They don't aggregate. They don't talk about containment beyond that. So the whole GS1 Standards thing, where you've actually got a GTIN for every packaging type, they can't absorb it. They can't consume it. So they're left kind of breaking things down to the each every time. So
Yeah.
I'll walk into a warehouse, and they'll have cases that are properly identified with GS1 standards,
Right.
and they've broken the tape and pulled one product out and put it on top so that they can scan the UPC code, because that's all their system can consume.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
I look at that and I go, you guys realize you've just given away all of the optimization that the whole system is designed to support?
Yeah.
Because your back-end system won't handle
Can't
it?
handle it. Yeah.
Sorry. And the next thing I'm seeing is you have people who write warehouse management systems
Right.
that aren't able to consume multi-dimensional data. So they want a different barcode for every field.
Right.
And I'm like, GS1 standards have been around for a while. We have these things called auto identifiers,
Yeah.
so that you can have more than one field on that label and scan it once and then move the product instead of having to scan it 6 times before you can move it.
Right.
Wouldn't that be nice? Could we cut down the number of touches, please? And they're just not there yet because they don't conceive of that. They're, again, one step beyond the ERP system. The ERP system says we track eaches. So,
Right.
now I have to add identifiers to those eaches, so I'm going to scan for every field. No, if I give you the data, consume it, and if I didn't give you enough data, ask me a few more questions.
Right.
They're not quite there yet. The Manhattans of the world are, but
Yeah.
at the lower end, not quite there yet.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah. Okay, so would you say, I guess for those kind of customers, would you say that's kind of probably the biggest opportunity you see right now for a lot of customers where they need to maybe upgrade their ERP system to kind of fill in those gaps to go with all the different changes that have happened in the industry and all the other new technology that's happening?
Either upgrade your ERP system or put in a manufacturing or warehouse execution system that can put a layer of barrier, kind of a layer of control around that to allow you to have more information that gets reflected back to the ERP at the each level. Keep your financials clean, I understand that, but you need to be able to make your operations efficient.
Right.
And if your financials, just by the way they're structured, are holding you back,
Yeah.
you need to put in some other layer of execution at that point to manage that difference. It's not unheard of, it's another way of thinking about it.
Right, definitely. So what would you say, I guess, about the person that's kind of like resistant to that because they're like, oh, I don't want to invest in new technology might not work, or there might be bugs or something like that. How do you kind of tackle that and tell them, like, you need to do this?
Well, I always say, well, how much is your company worth, and are you ready for it to be a merger or acquisition? Because those are your choices. You can either move forward or become slightly less profitable and somebody can acquire you. That's one way of looking at it.
Interesting.
The other way of looking at it is, okay, what is the problem we need to solve, and how can we stepwise improve?
Yeah.
What does it take to get there? And in some cases, it's, well, we can start on this by properly identifying things in our warehouse, starting at the dock door, at the receiving dock, to start bringing this information in a little bit more efficiently. And then on the outbound side, maybe we can start scanning to do our pack stations, so that we're actually verifying that what we picked is what's being put in those boxes, so that we're shipping the right stuff. Whether or not they're doing the full pick or the inventory control using scanning doesn't really matter, because it's within their own 4 walls. If they can achieve front and back, we can work on the gaps in between. But it's a nice place to start because they're going to get a good ROI on the receiving side, and they're going to get a good ROI on the fulfillment side. And then we can backfill that with cycle counting and that sort of thing. But they may not be able to transform their warehouse operation to put scan guns in their material handlers' hands because they're just not culturally ready for that yet. But if they're doing any omni-channel fulfillment or any trading partner type stuff, they've got to be scanning barcodes and getting validation on that, or their returns should through the roof. Definitely.
Yeah, I talked to a company recently, and they're a startup, and they're doing things by paper, everything, and I feel the same. But one of the questions I was like, well, so, and they were like, oh, there's not really no QA process or anything. So it's kind of like, I'm like, well, how do you know? Like, because then they went on to say, like, yeah, like, our mispicks are really not that bad. And I said, well, if you don't have a QA process, how do you know?
If there's no
mispick?
Audit.
And they said, oh, well, when the customer calls. And I said, okay. That's
outsourcing your auditing.
We don't want that to happen.
Well, if you ship too much, the customer's not going to call. They're only going to call if you didn't ship the right thing.
Right, definitely. Yeah, so I think your point of kind of starting at those two ends is really smart idea, and then kind of just squeeze the middle, right? So very interesting stuff. So where can we find out more information about Barcoding Inc.?
Well, you can hit barcoding.com. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
You can come to my session on, Tuesday or Thursday. here at the show at MODEX. I'm literally talking about GS1 Standards and how to get started.
Okay.
And where the ROIs are within that kind of process.
Definitely. So we'll have to have you back on the show just to talk about that topic.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we'll put more information about Barcoding on the newwarehouse.com. And Peter, thanks so much for stopping by.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.